going from the summer to the fall, we got week 1 right here, ready to go. The New England Patriots are back, baby. And we have the first game going against the Raiders on Sunday. The Raiders. It's going to be a fun one. But it's not going to be as easy as I think we're all expecting, or I should say hoping. With this game, we need to see some certain things. And one of them has to be the quarterback play. Drake May has to show up and show out, for me at least, to be comfortable with him moving forward. That's going to be the interesting thing, and something that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to. Now, in terms of the injury report, for all intents and purposes, it looks like Christian Gonzalez is not going to play this Sunday. He hasn't practiced a single day since they threw on pads back in late July. It's been 5 weeks since that guy's threw on shoulder pads. And he hasn't been practicing because of his hamstring. Now, I understand. I get it. You need to, it's a hamstring. It's a soft tissue injury, which those are very finicky at times. The 1 minute you're feeling great. You start to jog. You start to move. Next thing you know, oh, no, I got to calm down again. I got to pull up here. I got to sit down, and just relax. So, of course, we want Christian Gonzalez to be at 100% health before any of this starts. No two ways about it. But at the same time, it's also been 5 weeks. And everybody's been saying that, he's going to be ready by week 1 prior to this week. That's what scares me about this. So of course, I'm looking at this game totally differently without Christian Gonzalez as our number 1 corner. But when looking over both teams and both rosters, I wanted to do a comparison. Something I'm going to be doing every Sunday now is, again, previewing my thoughts about the teams, kind of where I think, the Patriots are, where the opponent is, and kind of how the positions play off one another. So looking at it from a position standpoint, I gave the check mark to Geno Smith and the Raiders. Now, before you chop my head off, do I think Drake May has the physical talent to be better than Geno Smith? Of course I do. I'm not blind. I know what Drake May brings to the fold. But I have seen Geno Smith do very well in this league in Seattle. I have only seen snippets of Drake May show flashes of how good he can be. I have never seen Drake May perform an entire game and be a stud from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. So, with that being said, if I had to pick one for one game today, yes, I am taking Geno Smith today. And I would love to know your thoughts, your comments. Comment down below. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. But that's why there are reasons for that. I'm looking at this game in a totally different way because I don't know what I'm getting from Drake May. Whereas Geno Smith, I'm only looking at last year's stats. Geno Smith played in 17 games. Drake May played in 13 and started 12 of them. Geno passed for over 4,300 yards to Drake May's 2,276. Geno has a 70.4 completion percentage to Drake May's 67%. The TD to interception ratio is a lot more even than, you might want to give it credit for, but Geno, 21 touchdowns to 15 picks. Drake May, 15 touchdowns to 10 picks. And Geno has a passer rating of 93.2. Drake May's got a passer rating of 88.1. But their QBR, Drake May, has the slight edge at 55.2 to Geno Smith's 50.4. So, yes, do I think Drake May can and will be the better quarterback between the two by the middle of the year, the end of the year? Absolutely, I do. I do think Drake May is the more talented quarterback. But if I'm going off of what I saw last year, right now, I have not seen Drake May put together an entire game's worth of being the dude. So, with that being said, again, I do give the slight edge to Oakland. Now, or Vegas. But when it comes to the skill position, I give the edge to the Patriots at running back and wide receiver. Why? Because when I look at the running backs and wide receiver, yes, the Raiders have Ashton Genty. He was a stud running back in Boise State last year. He was unbelievable. I think had 24 to 25 100 all-purpose yards. 2,500 all-purpose yards. It's insane. And they only played like 13 games, 14 games, including the bowl game. Crazy what, he did. But when I look at their backups, they got Zamir White and Raheem Mostert. I give the edge to you. Because, yes, while Ramondre Stevenson has his fumble issues, Antonio Gibson was a solid back last year. Ramondre Stevenson, if he can hold on to the ball, is an extremely good running back in between the gaps. And then you got Travion Henderson, who is a stud third down back. He can catch balls from out of the backfield. He can return kicks. And he's been able to show his breakaway speed as a back, hitting the holes or bouncing to the outside. That's something that I'm excited about. I like our running backs more than I like Ashton Genty, to be honest with you. It's basically our three versus Ashton Genty. That's it. Now, when it comes to the receiver position, okay, Jacoby Myers has to be traded. That's one. So, and then they have Amari Cooper, but he's kind of on his last legs. They have Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton Jr. Who? Yeah, I'll go with the Pats. Stephon Diggs, Matt Collins, Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, and Efton Chisholm III. That's a no-brainer. All right, so moving on now. We're going from running backs to wide receivers to tight end. And yeah, I give the edge to the Raiders. I give the edge to the Raiders there. Brock Bowers is just absolutely next level what that guy can do. And you can't scoff at Michael Mayer as a number 2 tight end. You just can't. Guy can block. Guy can go out to the pass, go up the seam, make a catch. He's very underrated in this Raider offense. So they finally have a quarterback who can throw them the football. See how that goes. Then when it comes to the O-line, I kind of said equal because I still think both O-lines have a lot to figure out. As for the D-line, I like our guys. I really do. I like the addition of Milton Williams, the addition of Harold Landry, Chris Tonga, Christian Barmore's coming back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He's not going to be dealing with a blood clot issue anymore. But with that being said, Max Crosby is just way too talented. Way too talented. And yes, I'm picking basically one guy compared to our 3, 4, Keon White for that matter. But yeah, again, it's all slight. Like, I'm not saying that Oakland is or I keep calling them Oakland. I'm not saying the Raiders are far and away better than the Patriots at D-line. I'm not. But Max Crosby is a hell of a difference maker. He is. So I like him for that. I also gave them the edge at linebacker. Now that I think about it, I actually probably should have made those equal because I like our linebackers, but I still have some question marks about them. So again, linebacker should be equal. That's on me. I forgot to adjust that. But then when it comes to DBs, I still give the edge to the Patriots, even without Christian Gonzalez. Why? I think partially due to the fact that, yes, you have Carlton Davis III, you have Christian Gonzalez, you got Marcus Jones, DJ James, Alex Austin. And so even with those guys, I still think that they are better. And even without Gonzalez, I still think that they're better than what the Raiders have. I also prefer them. If I'm going on a matchup basis, I still prefer our DBs to their DBs. Going against them going against our wide receivers and our DBs going against their wide receivers. If I looked at it that way, I still prefer us. If I looked at it straight up as a whole, I like us. Now, if I was looking at them straight up, just comparing the talent, all that, I think I like us on a slight edge. But if I'm looking at us, our DBs versus their receivers, their DBs versus our receivers, I like our DBs hell of a lot more. So the only question is, how can we stop Brock Bowers? That's it. Jacoby Myers is good. I like Jacoby Myers. I liked him when he was here. Did I want him back? No. That's why we have Stephon Diggs. And Pop Douglas, Mac Hollins. Like, we have the guy. If we didn't have Mac Hollins, then I would probably want to go out and get Jacoby Myers, depending on the price, of course. But all intents and purposes, it's basically shut down Ashton Genty, shut down Brock Bowers. That's the defensive game plan for this week. That's what it should be. So, with that being said, and then, of course, I did forget to mention our special teams. I gave them the slight edge only because they got Daniel Carlson as kicker. He's been in the league for a very long time, been a successful kicker for a very long time. Whereas we have Andy Borregales, the kid out of Miami, who, in my opinion, lost the kicking battle between him and Paca Romo. So that kind of bugs me a little bit. Otherwise, maybe if we had Paca Romo, I'd give us the edge on special teams. So otherwise, that's a tough bet. That's where, I did give the slight edge to the Vegas Raiders in most of the categories. And again, I'm not picking the Raiders out of, out of spite or because I think the Pats suck or anything of that nature. No, I'm just looking at it straight up. I'm trying to give you my honest opinion and why I like these guys. And like I said, honestly, it's not by much. It's by like that much, Again, Max Crosby has way too much talent compared to our D-line. Geno Smith has done more in this league and has been very successful in this league. While Drake May has shown flashes, I haven't seen it in an entire game start to finish yet. And I hope he shows up. I have all the faith in the world that Drake May will show up on Sunday and he can do it. The only tough part is it's kind of not where I went. I did kind of pick the Vegas Raiders to squeak out the victory on Sunday, 24-21. And let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think the score is going to be? What are your predictions coming up for this Sunday's game, week 1, at home versus the Raiders? I think it's going to be a very good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's going to come down to the final possession. Whoever gets the ball last is going to determine their fate. I think that's how it's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if defense is very heavy in this game, just because Both the offenses are still trying to figure everything out. The players are still trying to get, comfortable with their quarterbacks, trying to understand each offensive system. Now, I do think Geno Smith does have the edge because he's played under Pete Carroll before, whereas Drake May has never worked with Josh McDaniels up until this summer. Otherwise, yes, I am leaning with the Raiders. So, sorry. That's where I'm going.